Suppose you say, yes, I will connect you with this person so that you go and close the deal. But you forget about it, and you don't even consider this as an important activity. And this has nothing to do with your the employee's finances. This is just helping your organization close deals with another organization which your employee thinks strategically in his mind, but you have forgotten about that after you have made that promise. So I think this is something very, very important. The people will stop trusting you, and also stop not respecting you if you actually break your promise. And also, even if you make promise and do not follow through. So whenever you make promise, always follow through. It is a good practice not to make too many promises until unless you are very sure. You can always take time. Suppose somebody asks for something, you can always say that, hey, I will get back to you. Let me get back to you, and give me some time to think over it. Leave the idea with me. You can always say that rather than making a promise and then forgetting about it and not following through. So this is something which is absolutely important, and it is related to trust. And since we're talking about trust, you are a sort of a boss who never trusts his team. You have an idea that you have a certain style of working. Because you have done things in life, you have a lot of experience. Certain thing works, certain thing doesn't work. You already have that preconceived mind, and you may be right also about it. But when you've hired a team, because you can't be everywhere, you can't be omnipresent, you can't work like a god. So that is why you're building your team, so that you can spread out and you can do much more strategic things. But in your mind, you think that your team is always doing something wrong. Your team is always taking wrong steps. You do not have any trust on your team. In the previous example, I was talking about building trust from the other way. That means your employees start trusting you. In this one, you don't have trust on your team. Now, this is after having hired the person. That means you have gone through the background of this person whom you have hired, and now you don't trust these people. You always have this idea, oh, these guys are doing something wrong. Even if you don't know, you have this idea lingering in your mind in the background that something must be going wrong somewhere. And that is why you don't have a trust. So I think this is something which is, again, the most important, which I kept it for the last, because having trust on your team is absolutely important. Once you have hired them, once you have given them a task, leave the task with them, because you may have experience, you may know the solution of that problem, you may know the process, you may also know how to get it. But since you have a team, let them do it their way, and you help them. You can give them small advices, but don't interfere, because each person will have his own method of achieving the task. And you have, you basically give them empowerment. You also give them your trust, so that team member will feel that you don't become you're not a micromanager. This is a very, very difficult subject, and we are not covering this micromanagement in this video today. But this is sort of a micromanagement syndrome, where you always think in your mind that your team is doing something wrong somewhere, and if I do it on my own, then I can do it in 3 days. I think that is not the way it should work. You should empower your team, and that way, when the team sees that you have empowered them and you're not interfering, you are leaving them, they will also get, they will also start thinking in a very pragmatic way that, I have to get this thing done, because my boss has given me everything. He has empowered me. Now I have to achieve it. So these are the 5 points which I thought I will bring it to you. Very, very important. Very, very important, especially today, in today's world, when people are moving towards digital platform, and you don't get to even see your employees. You're connected through them through their digital media, and you always have this question running in your mind, hey, what my team is doing. So I think these are the 5 steps which will help the C-suite, chief executives, managers, vice presidents, and presidents. This is basically for people who are managing these teams. If they do these 5 tips that I've given, they will be very successful in gaining the trust and respect of their team. So friends, before I go, I like to give a big thanks to Performance Works International for sponsoring this video. Actually, their support helps us make these informative and knowledge-based videos. So in the end, a word from them.
This video is sponsored by Performance Works International.
Are you ready for the challenges facing the modern workplace? Recent events have taught us the importance of transformation. Businesses now face a perfect storm of challenges. No business is too big to fail, and many are too slow to succeed. Our workforce is changing fast. We're entering a new age of empowerment, and everyone can contribute. The Inner CEO reveals how we can all play a part in making leading at all levels a reality. Written by Jeremy Blaine, an expert on business transformation and growth, it provides a roadmap to help everyone unleash their inner CEO and contribute beyond their job role, whatever their level. Traditionally, strategy has been owned by the few. Now it's time for the many to contribute. Leadership must come from a broader base. Everyone has the potential to step up and make things happen. It's a new model of collective and collaborative leadership which unleashes the power of people, enabled by appropriate technology and a supportive management structure. The book provides a roadmap for a bold new age of empowerment. Supported by a range of resources, the book provides a toolkit to help anyone unleash their inner CEO. Organisation health, development and growth is owned at all levels. Are you ready to unleash the inner CEO?
Hello friends, this is Chandrakant from Akul Mac, and today's headline is that Perseverance has touched down successfully on the surface of Mars, and it's really a big deal. Why it's a big deal? Because I was awake whole night watching the live stream from NASA. Minute by minute, they were showing, how things are progressing. And this is one of the biggest spacecraft that the NASA has sent to Mars, bigger than the previous one, and it has basically a lot of other experiments which are included into this one. So we will actually talk very briefly about those. But as far as my knowledge goes, Perseverance is a part of a mega project by NASA where they want to actually bring samples back to Earth without sending humans. So it's a very specialized, high-tech, groundbreaking robotic mission. Perseverance is the first leg of that mission. There will be a second one in 2026, and finally the samples will arrive on Earth by 2031. And I think we can be mesmerized by all this effort which has been put in by a lot of these scientists while preparing for this mission. And one name which immediately comes to our mind is the Indian connection with this whole project, and that is Dr. Swati Mohan. She was just 1 year old when she reached US, and at the age of 9, she saw the Star Trek serial, and she then made up her mind to get into the space tech arena, and finally she landed at NASA. Now, she is the person who designed the whole landing mechanism of this particular spacecraft, and the and also supervised the whole landing procedure for Perseverance. And why this is a big deal? Because first of all, you're traveling for 7 months. The spacecraft is traveling from for 7 months. It's at a considerable speed, so you need to first slow down the speed and get the your spacecraft into orbit. Once it gets into orbit, then you have to slowly descend on the surface. The problem on the Mars is that the air pressure or the atmosphere is just 1% of the Earth atmosphere. So when you're sending your probe down to the surface, there is obviously some air which will heat up the spacecraft, but it does not give enough pressure to slow it down. So that is why this whole process is so different from landing a spacecraft on Earth or on Moon. It is a totally different ball game, and you have to angle the spaceship in such a way that it heats up, but it does not burn up. At the same time, it has to slow down, because if it does not slow down, it cannot deploy the other mechanisms which are there to successfully land the spaceship. So basically, that is why the supervision of this person was so important. She successfully landed the spacecraft on Mars, and for the first time, they have also used the sky elevators. It's because this Perseverance spacecraft is much bigger than the previous ones, which landed on Mars. It's almost twice the size, and it has a lot of payload. So this time they have used something called sky elevator, which is nothing but a bunch of rockets which will slowly descend the spaceship on the ground. And once it detects that the spaceship has reached the ground, it will snap and then go away. So this is a very remarkable system. It consisting of a parachute and a sky elevator. Finally, it landed successfully the Perseverance aircraft. Now let's look at what is so special about this spacecraft. This has many experiment. Many of these experiments also includes a drill, and the drill is something which will collect up to 40 samples over the period of next uh, 80 months of its operation. And but it does not need to drill at all the locations. It has a lot of sensors. So the spacecraft is basically explore a old crater which we feel was filled with water. As far as our data goes, whatever research NASA has done so far, so they want to really examine the signs of ancient life or water. So it will go around and use its sensors to identify which place to drill, and then it will drill and collect a sample, store the sample after sanitizing it, because it does not want the any microbe from Mars or Earth to contaminate the sample. It will sanitize it and store it, and that will be the job of this Perseverance. In addition to that, Perseverance is also going with a unique device, and it's the first time a powered flight will be tested on the surface of Mars. This has been designed as a helicopter which is specifically designed to fly in a low air pressure environment like Mars. It has a specific design. The rotors moves very fast, very light weight spacecraft, and it has its own power. It has solar cell which generate the lithium ion battery on board, and it will take off for 90 seconds after each charge, film the surface, tell the rover about the things which are ahead, and then there will be a AI based decision making system which will work. So this is just an experiment whether we can take off or land a powered flight on an alien world. So this is just the first one which is going to come up. This device will be deployed after a month of operation. The other thing is the drill bit itself. This has been designed specifically for Mars. and it also collect the sample. When it drills, it actually collects the rock sample, and then there is a process in the spacecraft itself to sanitize it, store them in a nice jar which is sanitized using some technology, and it will be stored until 2026, until the time that the next spacecraft land, that will have a collector of these samples. So these samples will be dropped at a designated area. The next spacecraft which will land in 2026 on Mars will collect all those biles and shoot them out back to Earth. So that is the second phase, and the third phase will be to collect those samples back and bring them to Earth. So that is the last phase, which will finish in 1931. So it's a very long drawn space mission which NASA has embarked. And there is one very unique experiment which they are carrying this time, and that is the oxygen generator. Now, oxygen generator is not something new. The astronauts and cosmonauts have been going to space for last 50, 60 years, and they have been converting the water into oxygen for their breathing purpose. So, there are different oxygen generation techniques which have been used in the past. But this time, they are sending a totally new experiment along with Perseverance, which is going to use the atmosphere of Mars, which is, as we know, is rich in carbon dioxide. So with using the elect, so with this